Hello there, Ramblers, and welcome back to Reese Rambles, my weekly podcast all about the latest comings and goings, movings and shakings, and all the rest of it in the worlds of vintage and retro computing, gaming, and technology. I hope you're all doing well out there, and of course, another wonderful weekend ahead of us, which I will talk about in a moment because it is quite a noteworthy weekend for me in particular, for reasons that I will go into. But of course, we need to talk about last weekend, the things I talked about in the previous week's Ramble. And I have some people to thank, some of you wonderful listeners and viewers out there. So thank you ever so much. I, of course, talked last week about the half marathon that I was running with Catherine. And yeah, we successfully completed that. 3 hours and 6 minutes, which, of course, if you are a professional marathon runner, you'll probably think isn't a particularly competitive time. But, of course, it's not about the time. It's about getting the miles under our belts. It's about proving that we can do it, particularly Catherine, who's never run that distance before. I think the furthest she'd done was like 12k. So yeah, 21k. Quite the achievement. Very, very proud indeed. And yeah, an important step on our kind of training plan for the London Marathon, which is the last week of April. And I mentioned that I was raising money for charity as part of that for Breast Cancer Now, a really important charity and one that's very dear to my heart as well. And I had some donations from some of you wonderful people, so thank you ever so much. I will link to this again. I don't want to keep pushing this too much, but it is a really big milestone for me, and it is very important, and it is for a charity that do some fantastic work. And all the donations that go via Just Giving go directly to the charity as well, so that's very cool. I'm at 54% of my target, £1,375 of the £2,500 target. And if we scroll down, we can see the names of some of the people who have donated in the past week. So thank you to you. I'm not going to read all of these names out, but you can also see the half marathon here as well, logged as one of my training runs, if you're in any doubt whatsoever that I'd actually completed it. So that is that. Thank you ever so much to all of you. And yeah, this weekend, so not looking like it's going to be such a good weekend this weekend. Of course, last weekend was gloriously sunny, not particularly warm, but it was sunny. But this weekend is noteworthy in that it's my birthday tomorrow on the 15th of March. So yeah, I'm going to be 41, believe it or not. But yeah, I am going to be drinking throughout the course of the day, by the looks of it. So very much looking forward to that. I may be a highly trained and disciplined and highly honed athlete, but I do enjoy a little tipple from time to time. And when I say from time to time, I generally mean multiple occasions per week. At the moment, like any middle-aged man. But anyway, that is that. So yeah, really cool that we have managed to achieve that. Of course, really proud of ourselves for running that half marathon and raising a load of money as well. Catherine's raised even more money than me. She's on like $3,500 so far, I think. So yeah, very, very cool indeed. But you're not here for marathon and birthday updates, are you? You are here for retro news. So I think without further ado, as they say in the world of YouTube, let's get on with the first story. Way back in 1994, at Christmas, in fact, we received our very first, very own home family PC. Something very similar to this one on the desk next to me, in fact. It was the 486 DX266, so 66 blisteringly fast megahertz of performance, 4 megabytes of RAM. It had a dual speed CD-ROM drive, and it was running DOS 6.22 and Windows 3.1. Very happy days indeed. And while I had access to PCs before that, my dad had a work PC that was like an Amstrad 286, I think, that he used to bring home at the weekends sometimes, and played like Wolfenstein 3D on and stuff. Of course, having your own PC in the house is a very different proposition indeed, with its 300 megabyte hard drive and its floppy drive and a set of speakers not dissimilar to these ones that I have here. I've just done that on by accident. Let's try and do this. There we go. Yeah, so that was that. And of course, as mentioned, it ran Windows 3.1, one of my favourite versions of Windows, one that I have very fond memories of indeed. And of course, because of the kind of insane degree of backwards compatibility of modern day hardware, modern Intel compatible machines, x86, x64, whatever you want to call them, you can actually run MS-DOS natively on a modern machine to some extent. And by association, Windows 3.1, because essentially it's just a shell that runs on top of DOS. But the problem that you're going to run into attempting this setup, of course, is the driver situation. Windows 3.1, of course, not really a proper full-blown OS. Like I say, it is a shell, but it does need graphics drivers to be able to run at anything other than absolutely potato resolutions and color depths. And up until now, that wasn't a thing that was available for modern day graphics cards. But there is a brand new project that has actually made this possible. So this is called Plum GMK. Oh no, that's the author. Sorry, it's called VBESVGA.drv. Yeah, like I say, it was. This is written by Plum GMK, available over on GitHub, and you can go and download that and install it on your modern system running Windows 3.1 if you want to try such a thing. Now, this has actually been on my to-do list for a few weeks now. I've been wanting to make a video about this. Just, whether that be a quick look at this on the second channel or kind of a more in-depth look at how it actually works on the main channel. Not quite sure. It is still on the list, and I would still quite like to have a look at it. But, of course, other people out there have beaten me to the punch. And Steve's Tech Shed did point this one out to me this week, which had also come up in my recommendations. So I will give this one a little shout-out as well, because it is quite a good look at this, at this rather crazy situation. And it's a smaller channel as well. Always good to shout out these smaller channels. So this is Omores. And the title of this video is Windows 3.1 in HD, modern GPU support with the new 2025 VBESVGA driver, or VBESVGA driver. I will get my head around that at some point. But yeah, great video. Of course, I will link to that down below, and of course to the GitHub page as well. But what is this driver? Well, essentially, graphics cards, going back to the earliest days to the 90s, supported something called VESA, V-E-S-A. VESA BIOS extensions, specifically VBE. And without getting into too much detail, and if you want to know the technical detail about how this works, then do go and watch that video. But without going into too much detail, that means that you can actually write a VESA driver that runs on these modern-day graphics cards that plugs into Windows 3.1. And somebody has actually finally gone and done it. So the page begins, modern generic SVGA driver for Windows 3.1. This is a rewrite of the Windows 3.1 SVGA driver designed to support all available 8-bit, 16-bit, 24-bit or 32-bit graphics modes on any system, providing the VESA BIOS extensions, hence VBA in the name. It is based on the Video 7 SVGA driver included in the Win16 driver development kit, with most of the hardware-specific code gutted out and with support added for multi-byte pixels. So what this, Plum GMK has done, or Plum GMK, what the author has done here, has taken a driver development kit, an actual official driver development kit released by Microsoft back in the day, and they've used the example driver from that and basically adapted it for modern day graphics cards. Very clever stuff. I'm surprised it's taken this long for someone to do this. So, yeah, why on earth did I make such a thing? To demonstrate that it's possible to run Windows 3.1 in true colour full HD, because my AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT doesn't support 256 colour modes, rendering the old VESA patch useless for me, and to help out any fellow enthusiasts who like running old software on new hardware. And look at these screenshots. I mean, look at the resolution that they've got Windows 3.1 running in here. This is quite cool, and stuff that we could never have dreamed of back in 1992. So yeah, this true colour full HD screenshot gives you some idea of what's working so far. The colour settings dialog shows that pretty much the entire Windows GUI renders correctly, and the program manager shows icons working well too. The two windowed DOS prompts demonstrate that I am running this on MS-DOS 6.20 and that I'm using a real AMD graphics card with vendor string equal to yada yada yada. And the product name equal to Navi14. Minesweeper looks okay, while Solitaire is mostly working, but a few glitches are evident. See the issues page for more details of what is not working at the moment. Of course, this is an initial release, and development is ongoing, so it's only going to improve. And here's a screenshot running Calmira, which is an Windows XP-inspired shell for Windows 3.1. So look at this. This is absolute madness. I think we need to open this image much bigger. There we go. Look at this bad boy. So we've got the Windows XP style start menu and the desktop icons, my computer and all of that stuff. But we've got the Windows 3.1 Windows running within that. So this is very much my bag, this is. Yeah, so really cool project this. It comes with build instructions and stuff, but you can just, of course, you can just download it as well as a compiled thing. And yeah, I should say that screenshot that I've just shown does showcase the true color rendering capability in the Windows XP derived icons used by the Calmira XP shell. The advanced task manager, my goodness, I'm tripping over my words today, aren't I? You can tell it's nearly the weekend. It's nearly my birthday weekend. I promise I haven't started the drinking just yet. But you've got instructions for usage and installation, all that kind of stuff. And if you've set up graphics drivers in Windows 3.1 previously, this should be relatively straightforward for you. Although, understandably, with it having been 30 years since the release of Windows 95, I don't blame you if you're a little bit rusty on that. But yeah, I should also point out that there is a really good video on this. Now, this has been on my to-do list for quite a while now, and Steve's Tech Shed over on my Discord server actually brought this video to my attention. I must say it had also popped up in my recommendations on YouTube as well. And I have actually watched this, and it's a really good explanation of how this all works. So if you want to know kind of the more detailed technical information about how this works and to actually see some stuff running under this driver, I can highly recommend this channel, Omores. He's got 5,100 subscribers at the moment. So go and show him some love. A bit of a smaller channel, but a really well put together video showing a really excellent project in action. And yeah, that is that. So a modern day graphics driver for your modern day GPU for Windows 3.1. What crazy times we are living in. So where do you go from Windows 3.1? Well, I think the most logical place to go is, well, Windows 95, of course, the next major release of Windows after 3.1, the next major home release of Windows, I should say. I'm not quite sure about the exact timing of NT and all of that stuff, so do forgive me for that. But yeah, a story about Windows 95 now, because why not? I'm in an early Windows kind of mood. And this kind of came up on my radar. This was actually in my, like the news stories things that you get on Android. Maybe you're one of those fancy iPhone people, but on Android, if you swipe to the right, you get like news stories that are recommended for you. And usually 90% of them are absolute garbage, particularly in this day and age of AI-generated slop. But one of my old favourite websites from back in the day popped up, The Register. I must admit, one that I haven't really been a regular reader of for quite some time now, but it's nice to see that they're still going and still around. And yeah, this is a story about an open source Windows 95 clone. Released under the GPL version 3, the GNU public license, and it's called Free 95. However, this story is written in the form of a warning. So starts here. The developer of Free95 says it will be a free Windows 95 compatible OS, but we suspect an elaborate prank. At best, maybe an unknowing one. The project description of Versoft's Free95 says that Free95 is an open source Windows compatible operating system. Well, not yet, it's not. It appears to be barely even a sketch of a demo. The real question is perhaps, will it ever be what it claims? On this, we are inclined to listen to the advice of noted design authority Carlton D. Ridenour. So the project was announced by the developer, Cap Petrov, over on Reddit, and has received rather a lot of attention, and as at the time of writing, 330 stars on GitHub. I am just looking at the GitHub page here again. It's now up to 542 stars and 24 forks. Oh, there was actually a commit 6 hours ago, so hey, perhaps this thing is under active development. And the Register go on to say, we confess that we are a little surprised by how well the project is being received in terms of uncritical news stories, positive comments, and people expressing their hope that they might be able to run Windows apps on a different OS. After all, you can already do that, and I've been able to for years now. And it goes on to explain that Wine, of course, is a thing, the Windows compatibility layer for Linux. Wine is not an emulator. It's one of those recursive acronyms. It can run 16-bit and 32-bit apps on 64-bit OSs, x64 apps on ARM and more, including AAA games. Wine is absolutely fantastic, and it's the basis for Proton as well, isn't it, under Steam OS. I know that Valve kind of took that and made it into a gaming-focused compatibility layer, so you can play all of your Windows games on your Steam Deck, on that Linux-based operating system. And of course, they also mention React OS, which has been going for a very long time, and that is a free Windows clone, which is actually quite competent by this point. And I should probably have a look at that in a video, shouldn't I? I'll add that to the list. Someone remind me to add that to the list, because I'll forget by the time I finish recording this segment. But yeah, apparently there's not really much to see except 2 low-quality screenshots and a relatively tiny amount of source code. And yeah, essentially, there's some good comments on this. Sorry, this is going to be more impolite than most Hacker News comments, but this person doesn't know what they're doing. This is not what a replacement Windows kernel looks like. and it only runs a DOS box and Notepad, but the developer pinky promises to keep up the work. And with all due respect to anyone's efforts, this is as far removed from being a new open source Windows compatible operating system as a firecracker taped to a wooden stick is from a Falcon 9. So some lovely comments from Hacker News there. And then the register goes on to talk about React OS and how it took 30 years to get to where it is now. Wow, it's really been around that long. That's fantastic. So, yeah, if we could just go over and check out the GitHub page, because, of course, this story was published. When was this published? 12th of March, so a few days ago. And as I say, there have been some recent commits to this 6 hours ago. So, okay, so the screenshot situation hasn't improved. This is version 0.2.1 work in progress, and we can see we have the program manager. It's just the background's the right color. It's that kind of classic Windows 95 teal, just for the benefit of my audio listeners here. And we have a white box with a blue bar and like a red box in the corner at the top that just says program manager. Not really much to look at there. And then we have the version. Yeah, it's called FreeVer. So obviously the ver command in Windows, if you type that in, it will tell you which version of Windows that you're running. And they have implemented that. So that just comes up Versoft 395 version 0.2.1 alpha testing version. And there's a screenshot of the desktop with all programs closed, which, as you might imagine, is just a big teal square. So, what is it? Well, from the GitHub description here, 395 is your friendly Windows environment with an added trust of the open source community. All your favorite games, applications, and such from Windows will run perfectly fine on 395 as well. It is not a recreation of the NT kernel. It simply supports apps using the Win32 API, like exe files. Why? To remove Windows bloat and security problems. Being controlled by a large corporation is unsettling. Excuse me. And how? By NT syscalls, Win32 API implementation, etc. And it says you can join this project by doing so, simply doing so, literally. Just create a pull request unless you have Discord, in which you can DM the username there, dripcap_19416, to join and communicate with other developers of the project. And you can either compile the operating system from source, running make in 395, or downloading a binary from the releases section. So I might put together a little second channel video just looking at this. No promises there. Like I say, there's probably better things that I could be doing with my time at the moment. But if this is a serious effort, then fair play to you. You know, best of luck with this. It's quite the project, but with enough people contributing, hey, you never know, it might turn into something quite promising. But at the moment, as I say, the register is quite skeptical, and I think I'm just going to watch this and see where it goes. Well, I think this week's episode is turning into a bit of a Windows special, because my next story is all about Windows NT, Windows NT4. But you know what? Let's continue to roll with this and see how far it goes. I promise this is the last Windows story for this week's Ramble. But hey, with all the kind of early Windows PC stuff I cover on my channel, I'm pretty sure most of you out there will be interested to hear some of this stuff. So this was submitted by Mnemo, Nemo. There's been quite some discussion as to how that is pronounced, but you know who you are. And this was, again, posted over on my Discord server. So this is a story. This is actually a link to a video over on Spawnwave. Fantastic channel. I'm generally a regular viewer of Spawnwave, although I must admit I haven't gotten around to watching this video just yet. And that's kind of part of the reason why I haven't made it my video of the week, because generally one of my rules for that is that I have to have actually watched the video so I can talk about it with some authority. But I have had a quick skim through this, and I will sit down and watch it properly, probably later on tonight when I get 5 minutes to sit down. But essentially, what has happened is that someone has ported Windows NT, Windows NT4 workstation specifically. Yes, I don't know. I don't think this covers the server version as well, unfortunately, to the Nintendo GameCube. So yeah, this video basically demos installing and running Windows NT on the GameCube. So let's go and check out the GitHub page. It runs on the GameCube. Of course, it also runs on the Wii, because that is essentially, it does essentially have a full GameCube inside of it at the hardware level. Certainly certain versions of the Wii do. And there's also some other boards that it is theoretically supported on, but the developer hasn't had a chance to test those. So yeah, we are predominantly looking at the GameCube and of course the Wii in backwards compatibility mode. And there's they've implemented a load of drivers for stuff. So, yeah, the flipper interrupt controller, the video interface, it's got a console frame buffer video driver in there, an RGB frame buffer driver for Windows NT, a serial interface for the GameCube controller ports, which actually support the keyboard controller, the official keyboard controller for the Nintendo GameCube. And I did spot in my skim that this is also covered in this video. And yeah, the controllers themselves as well. Other keyboards, other mice, N64 controllers. It supports the SPI bus, so it supports the real-time clock and USB kernel debugging, SD card access, IDE interface for the GameCube is supported by Windows NT on the GameCube. USB controllers for USB keyboards and mice and mass storage. I mean, it's not just some completely janky proof of concept thing. This is fairly comprehensive, this release of Windows NT for the Nintendo GameCube. And I can't believe this. This is insane. So yeah, it runs NT 3.51 and higher. 3.5 will never be compatible as it only supports the PowerPC 601 CPU. But yeah, we've got instructions here on how to install. So you need an NT 3.51 or NT4 ISO file, which should be easy enough to track down. Or of course, if you still have your original Windows NT CD, you can rip that yourself, I guess. And you create basically an SD card interface, and you can create an image on that and install Windows NT to that image. Of course, you've got to partition the disk and everything before you go. But the instructions here are very comprehensive, and you can actually run through the NT setup process and have a working version of Windows NT 4 on the Nintendo GameCube. I mean, this is mental. This is what? What a cool project this is. But yeah, like I say, this video by Spawnwave, it does seem to show the whole process in great detail. Apologies for not watching it before recording this, but I have had a very busy week, and yeah, I'll watch it later on, I promise. But I just wanted to point you in the direction of this and not sit on it for another week, because it looks like such a cool thing. And hey, fits in with my other stories about these early 90s versions of Windows as well. So links, as always, to this story and all of the others mentioned in this ramble will be down in the description. If you are watching this on YouTube, or indeed if you're listening to this on your favourite podcast platform, it will also be in the notes. Spotify, iTunes, Google, which doesn't exist anymore, but I always mention it anyway, and a load of other platforms, actually, that people occasionally contact me about and say, hey, what's happened to Reese Rambles this week? It's not popped up on Ujimaflip. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't even know it was on there. But there you go. It's no secret that I am a massive Xbox fanboy, despite having not actually owned one since the 360. Yeah, that's right. I didn't actually get on board with the Xbox One generation and the newer iterations of that console family. I kind of moved over to the PC and never looked back. And of course, Microsoft have been releasing all their stuff on the PC anyway, so it's not like I've even missed out. I mean, you even have the Xbox Game Pass and all of that on the PC as well nowadays. But still interesting things happening in the world of Xbox, and it's always something that I like to keep a toe in with as well, just as something that I have that historical connection to. So I thought I would report on this, which was submitted to my Discord by Wolsey. So thank you ever so much. Let me just go and look up your full username. Wolsey1703, a regular over on my Discord server. So thank you for this. And this is a new handheld, and also a bit of speculation, but apparently well-informed speculation from a reliable source about the next generation of Xbox, which is apparently coming in 2027. But we'll talk about what's kind of a little bit more solid, although I will say there is quite a lot of speculation here as well. So this is over on windowscentral.com, of course, linked in the usual places. And the headline here is exclusive. Xbox's new hardware plans begin with a gaming handheld set for later this year, with full next-gen consoles targeting 2027. Which I appreciate is something that I've just told you. But yeah, Microsoft's first full foray into PC gaming handhelds begins with a partner device set to launch later this year, with its own Xbox Series X and S successors now fully in production. And I will warn you that this is about my third or fourth take trying to read this story, because this is quite the tongue twister in places. Yeah, maybe do a shot every time I say Xbox as well, unless it's like first thing in the morning where you are. Although it is my birthday, so, you know, least you could do. So the story leads with a render of this device, which Windows Central themselves have actually produced in-house. Well done, Windows Central. And it looks quite cool. You know, it's kind of a Steam Deck inspired handheld-looking thingy with an Xbox logo on the screen. Of course, no real sort of basis in reality, so it's probably not what it's going to look like. But probably, you know, hey, why not? Why not? It's I'm sure the concept is pretty sound. And it says here, here's your first glimpse at Xbox's next-gen hardware plans, and some parts are being executed more quickly than you might think. So the Xbox Series X and S generation has been a bit of an odd one. Microsoft's Xbox console hardware sell-through has declined quarter over quarter for some time, but Xbox's addressable monthly active user base has been skyrocketing. And that is, of course, I mean, it does attribute this to the purchase of Activision Blizzard on here, mobile games like Diablo Immortal, Candy Crush Saga and Hearthstone. And of course, core games like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Overwatch. But of course, this the massive growth in the user base compared to the decline in hardware sales is, as mentioned previously, to do with them releasing their games on other platforms, including, it does mention here, Forza Horizon 5 on the PlayStation, previously an Xbox exclusive. So yeah, Microsoft getting up to all sorts of antics nowadays. And I will also mention, actually, that there was a story doing the rounds quite recently about how Microsoft was seeing Xbox as more of a concept than a hardware ecosystem. You know, you could have Xbox on any platform, and that's kind of what's led to them releasing games on Windows and the PlayStation and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, they talk here a little bit about this handheld, and I will say, I think this has come from a reliable source, but it does also sound like some of it is quite speculative as well. But I thought I would report on this anyway. So they're working with a PC gaming OEM. They haven't mentioned which OEM, but some examples that they've given are Asus, or Asus, as I like to call them, Lenovo, MSI, Razer, etc. Like I say, they haven't specified which one. And they're working on an Xbox-branded gaming handheld, slated for later in 2025 if plans are met. And the codename for this thing is Kennen. And it will look unmistakably Xbox, complete with the official Xbox guide button and Xbox design sensibilities. Are you drunk yet? Given that this is a partner device, similar to Lenovo's SteamOS partnership with Valve, I expect this handheld to be more PC-oriented. Kennen is almost definitely running full Windows, putting the Microsoft Store and PC Game Pass front and centre, alongside the ability to install things like Steam. Again, this is speculation. They haven't announced anything either way, but probably makes sense for it to be running Windows rather than whatever on earth the Xbox is running nowadays. And, you know, it's makes sense to me. And would it be Linux-based, being an official Microsoft thing? I mean, stranger things have happened in recent years with, you know, the Windows subsystem for Linux and all of that kind of stuff. So you never know, but yeah, probably more than likely. And they speculate here that it will be running Windows 11. So, device will likely serve, at least in part, as a research experience for Microsoft. I expect the handheld will test new Windows 11 device-aware capabilities while reducing third-party OEM bloatware that are typical of devices like the Lenovo Legion Go and the Asus ROG Ally. Why can't these people come up with decent names for these things? I mean, the Steam Deck, good name. Lenovo Legion Go, no. ROG Ally? ROG stands for like Republic of Gamers or something, doesn't it? I only know that because I've got one of their motherboards and it comes up when it boots up. But I expect Microsoft will leverage widgets on the Xbox Game Bar on PC for controlling things like TDP and fan speed. Thrilling stuff. While hopefully having a more streamlined OS experience for controller use. Of course, just thinking about a version of Windows optimized for use with a controller. It'd be like Windows 8 and all that touchscreen stuff all over again, won't it? I mean, my PC is actually set up to boot Steam into big picture mode because I use it with a TV. But anyway, existing PC gaming OEMs will benefit from these efforts as well, but the research will also help with Microsoft's further out plans. And they also talk about, our sources indicate, Microsoft's internal successor to the Xbox Series X and S platform has been fully greenlit all the way up to CEO Satya Nadella. For now, I understand that Microsoft's next-gen hardware plans include a premium successor to the powerful Xbox Series X, alongside its own Xbox gaming handheld and several new controller options. Tentatively, these new console devices are slated for 2027. Now, I'm not going to go through and read the rest of this story because it gets even more speculative. But yeah, the headline here is that there is a handheld more than likely running Windows, built with as a partnership with an OEM hardware manufacturer, which probably should come as no surprise, and it's probably going to resemble a Steam Deck in some form. And apparently that has all been confirmed by their source, and also that the hardware has actually been finalised and greenlit for the next generation of Xbox, which is coming in 2027. And if you want to read the rest of this article, again, it will be linked in the usual places, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Right, this is a format that I haven't done on the Rambles for quite some time now, but I think it is warranted in this case because I like to keep these to around half an hour or so just for the sake of consistency and also for the sake of my own sanity and the fact that I do actually have other things going on in my life, I promise. And I need to get these out the door. I record these on a Friday and it needs to go up before midnight on a Friday evening. And as you can imagine, I'm actually going to a CrossFit pizza party later on this evening. In fact, very, very soon. Let's get this wrapped up. So, yeah, don't have a name for this section, but we're going to do a bit of a quickfire thing through some of the submissions that I have had this week. I should also mention that if you want to submit a story to the Rambles, there is a link to go and join my Discord server, and there is a specific channel in there called Ramble Submissions where you can post links to stuff. And there's no guarantee that stuff that gets posted will get picked, and quite often I just pick stuff that I see around and about anyway, but has been incredibly useful. Lots of really interesting stories from my community. So thank you ever so much for that. But yeah, let's rattle through some of these stories. And if anything catches your interest, of course, you know where to find the links to these. So the first one is a video over on Wrestling with Gaming, a really fantastic YouTube channel in its own right. If you're not subscribed to Wrestling with Gaming, do go and check it out. Some really good kind of in-depth documentaries and stuff over on there. And his latest video is about the Sharkwire Online, which is an online service which was released back in the day, back in the 90s, for the Nintendo 64, Nintendo's console from, I think it was about 97 that was released. So GameShark had their own online service called Sharkwire Online, and as you might expect from Wrestling with Gaming, really, really in-depth video, lots of original sources and stuff like that, really well researched and put together. Well worth a watch this. It's 31 minutes, so yeah, maybe sit and watch it on your big telly over dinner or something like that, but definitely one not to be missed. So thank you ever so much to Steve's Tech Shed for submitting that one. And by the way, you should go and check out his channel as well. He covers lots of IBM stuff, and he's a good egg and a good member of the community. So I'll link to him as well, if I remember. Otherwise, Steve, comment down below and other people can click on your name and all that. But anyway, next story is also from Steve. He should have his own segment, really, shouldn't he? And this is from the Metro, which, of course, is a big newspaper here in the UK, and it's about the SNES, or the Super Nintendo, the SNES, whatever you want to call it. And apparently, this is to do with like the speedrunning community, and they're starting to discover that these consoles are actually getting faster as they get older. And it claims here that nobody knows why. I must admit I haven't read this story in any great detail, but yeah, apparently the SNES, the DSP, is actually is getting faster. So this is based on a post from Tazbot, of course, Taz tool-assisted speedruns over on Blue Sky, and yeah, apparently why? How does it affect games? We do not know yet. So there you go. But it is something that they are collecting evidence on and trying to document and trying to work out. So, hey, if you have a SNES, it's probably running ever so slightly faster than it was when it was new back in the 90s. And that's quite interesting. The next story is from me. This is one that popped up in my recommendation this week. This is to do with the Ghostbusters Doom mod, and it's received its first update in 20 years. So you can now play this on Doom and Doom 2 Enhanced Edition, which of course were recently released on various platforms. There has to be a Doom story in every single Ramble, as you know. And this is quite a well-known kind of total conversion mod for Doom, and it is very comprehensive. So rather than running around shooting demons as you did in the original game, you go around busting ghosts as per Ghostbusters. And as the song at the time famously said, busting makes me feel good. So there you go. That's good to know. But yeah, it's a total conversion for Doom. Replaces all of the graphics, all of the enemies, literally everything, and turns it into a completely different game. It's free. And yeah, it's been released as an officially supported add-on for Doom and Doom 2 Enhanced Edition. So you can play that on your PlayStation, your Xbox, your PC, everything else where the all the other platforms where the Doom Enhanced Editions are available. Well worth checking out. Really kind of famous and well-known mod, and a really well-made one. So yeah, definitely maybe something else that I should add to my list of things to cover. It's just endless, isn't it? And finally, the last story for this segment is to do with the ZX Spectrum Next. Submitted by Richard Shears. Thank you ever so much for this submission. You're a good egg and a regular member of the community. And yeah, they have. So there's been an update on their official Kickstarter page. Now, if you remember their previous Kickstarter for the ZX Spectrum Next Issue 2, there was a lot of controversy around that and a lot of kind of negative feedback doing the rounds and a lot of negativity around that project because the timing was incredibly unfortunate in that it kind of landed during COVID times. And of course, they've had all sorts of problems sourcing components and particularly like the FPGA that they used. And they moved to a much more expensive FPGA, which led to like compatibility issues and them having to rework things to make sure that the issue 2 was actually properly compatible with the issue 1. I mean, I'm not an expert on the Spectrum Next, but it just seems like they got a load of flack and ran into a load of problems and still actually managed to deliver the project in the end. And I think they actually lost quite a bit of money on it as well. But yeah, apologies if that's not 100% accurate. Like I say, it's not my area of expertise. But this update does deal with some quite interesting things, some new game releases and things like that. Head Over Heels Deluxe, which I covered in last week's Ramble, does get a mention in this update. They've got the 2024 Year in Review video, if you're interested in everything that's kind of happened in the world of the Spectrum Next last year. Yeah, new Symbos multitasking OS, Solitaire, gotta have Solitaire, and all sorts of other stuff. But the story in particular that Rich was interested in is right down at the bottom. And it seems they're actually in the process of launching a third Kickstarter. So there's going to be an issue 3, Spectrum Next. So if you've been trying to get your hands on one or you've been thinking about getting one, you're going to have a third opportunity soon. And of course, we're now kind of pretty much back in the clear in the electronics world. So hopefully they won't run into the manufacturing issues that they have had with previous, with their previous Kickstarter. So yes, we left this one for last as we didn't want to take away the attention from the amazing work the community is brewing on the Spectrum Next every day. We are, in fact, getting the plans for a third instalment of the ZX Spectrum Next crowdfunding in motion. So the main reasons for this, basically they want to expand the size of their community for the benefits of the developers. And yeah, of course, the knowledge that some people missed out on the first two and want a Spectrum Next for themselves, which I think is perfectly fair. It's a very cool platform. So they get constant emails about it, and eBay prices keep on telling us there's more to be done next-wise. So there we go. No kind of actual news on that other than them mentioning that it will be a thing in the near future. So hopefully that will come up on my radar when that does become a thing, and I can link to it. But in the meantime, of course, you can go and check out their Kickstarter page and keep an eye on that and be the first to know when it does pop up. So thank you to everyone who submitted those stories this week. And yeah, that's a kind of a bit of a quick fire news round for you. Which, of course, brings me around quite neatly to my regular Video of the Week feature, wherein I feature a video that I've seen in the past week on YouTube that has entertained or informed or enlightened or otherwise amused me in some way. And yeah, this one very much fits into this category, and it is very much about retro tech. And I hope you enjoy this one. I don't really know why this came up on my recommendations, but I sat and I watched it, and I liked it a lot, and it would be nice to draw some attention to it. Although, to be fair, it is doing very well in its own right, and for good reason. So this video is all about retro technology, but it's about why young people love retro technology. And this is something that I actually covered in a Ramble a couple of weeks ago. There was a big news story about, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha kind of embracing old, like 90s analog technology, things like Walkmans and Game Boys and, old consoles. I think it was talking about specifically. But this is a brilliant video. This is on a channel called Genuine Curiosity. Has 15,000 subscribers. Didn't have many at all when this video first went up 3 weeks ago. But this now has 400,000 views on it, essentially. And it's a really, really well-made video. So it's a chap who is in his early 20s. I didn't catch his name, I don't think. If I did, Alex. We'll go with Alex. Really kind of, what's the word? Kind of articulate and well-spoken and intelligent and kind of well-put-together video talking about why people of his generation are embracing the technology that my generation grew up with. He talks about like record players and CRT TVs and, film cameras and that kind of stuff. And it's not some, nostalgia bait rubbish like we keep seeing. I thought it was a really genuinely good video. And he raises a lot of very good points about why this technology is kind of seeing a bit of a resurgence among him and his kind of peers and his generation. So very cool to see someone, one of the young'uns, doing such a good job of this YouTube thing and embracing all this old tat that, of course, our community knows and loves so well. and just kind of a bit of a love letter to all of that stuff, and a very well-made video. So yeah, 9 minutes and 7 seconds long. I will stop singing this guy's praises now and let you go and watch the video. That's my video of the week. It is entitled Why Young People Love Old Things. The channel, again, is Genuine Curiosity. I have subscribed to this channel because it looks like he has some other really interesting stuff on there, and hopefully some more interesting stuff in the works in the future as well. Really well made, really well kind of shot and edited, and just a really good story. I like this video. I like this video a lot. So that's my recommendation. Link down in the usual places. Go and check it out. And finally, before I leave you for today, I have a new video release for you. Released earlier today, in fact, and it's doing quite well, which is good. It's always good to see. So thank you to everyone who has gone and watched that video and shown it some love. I was particularly pleased with this one. It did take me quite a while to put together just to kind of get all of the bits and pieces working. So it is always gratifying when these kind of bigger projects do well. So this is a video all about the Pico Gus. So Gus, of course, stands for Gravis Ultrasound. It was a sound card that was released back in '92, I think. But the Pico Gus does a whole lot more than that. It basically emulates all sorts of different models of early sound card. The Sound Blaster 2, the Adlib card, the Gravis Ultrasound, as mentioned, and some other stuff as well, the Creative Game Blaster, and it does a lot more besides. And of course, this is all built around a Raspberry Pi 2040 microcontroller, and it's very cheap as well. So as mentioned here, it's $50, 65 euros, or £58, which I think is actually a bargain for all of the stuff that it does. Also has a wavetable header on it, so you can add a wavetable board for all those extra wonderful MIDI sounds. And speaking of MIDI, also does MPU 401 intelligent mode as well for your MT32. Or whatever, and that is all covered in the video, so I won't go over that again now. So that's my latest video, the Pico Gus, the $50/65 euros/£58 sound card that only does everything. Great title there, Reese, well done. And we'll just have a quick look at the analytics for that. So yeah, views are up 24%. I think this video has been up for, what, 5 hours now? Yeah, 5 hours. As at the time of recording, so 3,100 views in those 5 hours, and it's actually my most popular video of recent times, so really cool to see. And to be honest, Ian, the guy that developed this thing, I mean, I do mention, of course, that this was sent to me for free, for review, and I do get to keep it, and I do need to be very clear about that. But yeah, Ian, I've been chatting back and forth with him for quite a while now. He's a really lovely chap, really passionate, really kind of good egg in this community. So happy to get the word out there on his project, and as shown in the video, it's a genuine, honest kind of first impressions look at all the stuff that it can do. Really easy card to get set up and does exactly as described. It's a really great piece of hardware, so more than happy to help raise some awareness of this. I'm thinking probably everyone in this community is probably already aware of the Pico Gus, but perhaps not a more in-depth look at what it can actually do nowadays, because it's been in development for a few years now. So that's my latest video, all about the Pico Gus sound card. Of course, that and everything else, as mentioned in this ramble, will be linked down in the description in the usual places if you're watching this on YouTube, or indeed if you're listening to this on your favourite podcast platform, Spotify, iTunes, and all of those others. Hopefully you get the links and notes and things on those as well. But that's all I have for you for this week, so thank you ever so much once more for joining me. Of course, I do watch the analytics on these, and I am well aware that this whole Rambles thing is starting to blow up a bit, actually get quite popular, which is quite a nice community around it as well. So yeah, big thank you to everyone. You are seen and you are appreciated. So thank you for watching and for listening. But that's that. I'm off to enjoy my my CrossFit pizza party and then my birthday celebrations, and I hope you enjoy your weekend too. Bye.